Hello, everybody. House Shrink back. I hope you missed me. I've been out for a few days. TikTok was off. There was some problems yesterday, so I'm going to wait for you to come in and thousands of people as usual. And I want to tell you about the topic for today. It's going to be really exciting, but I'm going to wait till people start coming in so I can mention it. And I still have to repeat it a few times, but at least. Hi, Samantha Louise. How are you? Welcome. Samantha's going to be monitoring here, moderating. So she may be able to ask or answer some questions that I may not have the opportunity to answer. She works with me. And any questions that you have that I can't answer, she will. Dimo or Dimo, hi, welcome. People are starting to come in. And I will tell you about the topic of today as soon as we get more people in. It's a flooding of people when it starts. And usually at the end, I look at it and it's several thousand people that have been a part of this. So I want to wait a little bit as people come in. You know, they find, hey, House Shrink is on. Come back and let's see him. I hope you missed me and you had some withdrawals and you thought, I don't know what's wrong today. Oh, we haven't seen House Shrink. So that's what happens. So that's how that goes. So people are starting to come in now, and I'll be mentioning the topic for today, and it'll be really exciting because, as you know, I'm very interested in selfhood and individuality, and I'm very much against groupthink and political correctness. So this will be a highly politically incorrect. So anyway, what I want to do is I want to not waste any time with the clowns, with the people that are not interested in seriousness here. If you're not, just go somewhere and watch cute girls shake their butts. I'm not going to shake anything here. I'm not going to shake my butt. I'm going to shake your brain. But if that's all you're looking for, then just go somewhere else. There's plenty of opportunities here to do mindless kinds of things, and that's okay. So anyway. No clowns today. You will be blocked or you'll be muted, and we want intelligent people because it's going to be an intelligent conversation that I'm going to have with you to help you how to individuate, how to become an individual, and to see how much control there is of your thinking by the inquisition that is now called groupthink, political correctness. So welcome everybody. And yes, did I paint the things behind you? Yeah, those are my paintings. This one is called The Betrayal of Samson. And the one behind there is the Cherokee Pilot. And one of these days I'll do a live on some of my work. But you can go to my website at biocognitive.com and you can see there's a gallery there. I have several hundred works, some for sale, some are not. I like The Betrayal of Samson. Good, yeah, it's used. I did it using negative space. So Samson's face will be on negative space, and then the hand up there, on the top cutting his hair and the betrayal. So yeah, I'm glad you noticed it. People here that are paying attention to details. So what I do want you to do is to make sure that you like and follow my work. And the reason is that it wasn't working for a while. I had over 10,000 likes and it was showing 14. And I think it was just a glitch that they had with the internet. But make sure that now, as you're waiting for other people to come in, that you go ahead and follow and like. It's very important. I want to get up to 3,000 today. We have 2,700 and something, so that we can get eventually up to 10,000. There, I'll be able to do a lot more things with you. I'll be able to show you more of my work. There'll be tools, learning tools, and quite a bit. So please go ahead and follow and like. It's very important that you do. That's your ticket to get in here. All right. And if you're already following, then share. And then go, as you know now, tomorrow, because we can only post 60 seconds, or now I can do 3 minutes. But this is obviously going to be a longer video, so you can watch it tomorrow on my other social media, which is the YouTube channel, Dr. Mario Martinez. Very simple. You just go there, and you'll be able to watch it. There are hundreds of videos, and the one on getting your life in order is all from TikTok videos. So go ahead and do that. Welcome, everybody. I can't mention all your names because all kinds of people are coming in. and all beautiful people. Oh, the clowns have stopped. I'm glad to hear. As soon as I say that, a clown will show up. But what I'm doing is I'm developing here an audience of intelligent people. People who are not here just to, as I always say, watch somebody shake their butt, which is fine if that's what you want. If you're a voyeurist, you could do that. What I'm going to shake here is your brain. That's what I'm going to do. If you are going to be off topic, then it's going to be ignored because you're going to waste my time and the people here this time. So be discerning. The audience, be discerning. When you see people clowning around, ignore them or block them because they're not respecting your time. I'm a clinical psychologist. I'm trying to give you something here that will help you grow, become more of an individual. Be aware, have you been manipulated by groupthink? So the topic today is individuating, becoming an individual in selfhood. Becoming an individual in selfhood. Someone says that, I'm respecting your time. Totally, your ear hurts. I'm sorry to hear that. Sorry to hear that. I'm sorry to hear that your ear hurts. It is very painful, I understand. So pay attention and maybe it'll go away. I'm getting back into the topic. Individuating. How do you become an individual? How do you know when you're being manipulated by groupthink? And let's go back to the times when, in the medieval times, when there was the Inquisition. Back, there was science and theology were together. It was called the natural sciences, which was philosophy, or the natural philosophies. And if you had anything to say that was off topic, it was called heresy. And you would be burned at the stake, or you would be house arrested, or you'd be tortured. And you would say, well, that's over now. No, it's not. You're not burned at the stake, and you're not tortured, and you're not house arrested. But your grants would be taken away if you are a professor. You could be fired, or there could be a cancel culture, which they'll boycott your business, then they'll get you out of business. And it's nothing to do with conservatism or liberalism. Groupthink is something that is specifically telling you how you need to think. But what happens is that they have to sanitize everything. Now they're sanitizing children's stories. They're making them politically correct. They're changing it now into, if there's something bad, if there's the big bad wolf, no, that's got to change. You can't do that anymore. These people are incredibly ignorant of developmental psychology and biology. Children's stories are ways to teach abstraction, to teach that there's evil in the world, and that eventually good overcomes evil. So it's a way of teaching ethics and a way of understanding things about the world. Can you give tips on being anxious? Plenty of videos. Go to my YouTube channel, Dr. Mario Martinez. A lot of videos there. Read my books, The Mind Body Code, The Mind Body Self. But the first thing to do, reduce your anxiety by hitting follow and like, and that'll help you because you're in tune. Okay? So now they're doing that. Now they're sanitizing the children's stories. So now what will happen is that the wolf would come to Little Red Riding Hood and say, what is your pronoun before I try to eat you? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Civics has been taken out. Civics was teaching you how to think, how to be a good citizen. Now civics is teaching you how to put on a condom or what kind of pronoun you need to use. It's ridiculous. Also, they're not teaching any philosophy. They're not teaching any dialectics. They're not teaching any rhetoric. Nothing. So, for example, Hegel was. I like pronouns, but I like the pronouns for. I don't want to create something that. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that. Pronouns they were made to be what you are, and if you want to be something else, that's okay. But you can't put it in. You can put it on social media. That's fine. So let's stick with the subject. So I don't want to politicize this. Okay, let's not politicize because it's nothing to do with anything other than logic. Okay, Hegel was a philosopher from the 18th century, and he talked about dialectics from dialogue to communicate with each other. And and in dialectics, you have what he called, you had a thesis, antithesis, and then you had the bringing it together. So you have, let's say, a thesis. The thesis would be tall people are dumb. The antithesis would be tall people are bright. And what you would do, the synthesis would bring it together, not for a not for to agree and consensus, but to bring it to a higher truth. A higher truth would be that there are some tall people who are intelligent, some are not, but intelligence is something that you have independent of how tall you are. That would be the higher truth. That would be the understanding. But we don't do that anymore. Now, if you want to dialogue something, and you say something that would be politically incorrect, then you would be labeled homophobic, you'd be labeled misogynist, xenophobic. But I have a name for people like that. People in the political correct world, and it has nothing to do with sex or anything or sexual orientation. It has to do with how they stop you, because they come up with a label that nobody likes. Nobody likes to be a homophobic. Nobody likes to be a misogynist. Some of them don't even know what the word means, but I have a word for people like that. The people that are doing that to you, what you need to do is you tell them, look, you're a misatomist. Misa in Greek means hate. Atomist means individual. Misatomist is someone who hates individuality, who hates individuals. Or you could say, hey, look, you're a heterophobic, which means that you have a phobia or fear of straight people. So this is to welcome you, whether you're a gay or lesbian or anything, to welcome you as an individual, not to identify yourself with your sexual preference, because that's just a part of you. What we're doing here is, yes, name calling, that's right. You don't want to do name calling, but if that's what they do, then you can tell, okay, this is what you do. But what happens is that we're just doing name calling. You're absolutely right. So you got to go deeper, but they won't let you go deeper, because they don't know any logic, they don't know any rhetoric, they don't know dialectics. Rhetoric, for example, has been misused. Now somebody will say, oh, that's a rhetorical, rhetoric means the speaker from the Greek, and it means the art of persuasion, of persuading people, the art of persuasion. And in rhetoric, there are three things that you do in real rhetoric, not what they call rhetoric now. One is the three levels. You have one is the ethos. Ethos is the one that shows the authority that you have. If I wanted to use authority, I say, well, I'm a clinical psychologist and I know psychology, that's the ethos. Then the logo would be the logic and the persuasion that I'm trying to give to you. And the pathos, which means emotions, would be the emotional appeal that I use. So see, that's good, because what you're doing is you're using persuasion with logic, and that's good. But you're not allowed to do that in the political correct mob, because you'll be labeled. Whatever label they want to give you, racist or whatever, they'll give you a label that has nothing to do with you. The Samson painting kind of looks like a seal on the side, but to a bucket of fish. All right, that's your projection. That's fine. Let's look at it again. Here you go. There's a Samson. See, okay, and the reason it's difficult to catch is because I was experimenting with negative space. Negative space is making something out of the blankness and then drawing or painting all around, and we're used to seeing positive space. That's why it's a little difficult to see. Okay, any questions as I go on? The topic for today is individuality and the development of self. So you can see all kinds of things. People are seeing all kinds of things. No, that's okay. It's a projection. You can see all kinds of things in my paintings because they're so realistic. So if you just join, the first thing to do, follow my work. Click follow, click like. Follow is more important, but if you click both, it'd be great. Then tomorrow you'll be able to see this complete video, because as you know, in TikTok you can only have 60 seconds. In my case now I can have 3 minutes, but it's still not enough. So you'll be able to see it tomorrow on my YouTube channel, which is Dr. Mario Martinez. Also on my page you'll see there the link to my website, biocognitive.com, and you'll see the name of my 2 books, The Mind Body Code and The Mind Body Self. So what I'm doing is I'm individuating. I'm talking about the individual here. And what you want to find out is you want to find out what is it that I think I am and how much of that is what I was told that I am. Because in colleges and in high schools, they teach you what to think. They don't teach you how to think. And to teach somebody how to think means that you have to have disagreements, that you have to have logic, and you have to have the rhetoric, and you have to have the dialectics and all these things that I talked about. But if you're not allowed, then there's some professors that will fail you if you don't agree with what they have to say. And at the same time, there are professors who go against this kind of thing and they lose their grants. So you see, there's a tremendous, it's not a conspiracy, it's just a way of forcing you to be something that you're not. Groupthink is the way that a group, like sheep, like groupthink. And they create zombies, I call zombies, who are wimps. They don't have the courage to talk about the things that I'm talking about here. That if you disagree, we can disagree, but we don't have to put each other down. We can use logic, not what's called in arguments, it's called ad hominem argument, which means against the messenger. If you don't like what I'm saying, they'll say, oh, I don't like your shirt, you're stupid. It has nothing to do with what I'm saying. Go with the message rather than the messenger. So when you're doing formal dialogues and formal debates, ad hominem is not allowed, which means that you don't criticize the person, you criticize the ideas. It's a theater of ideas, not a theater of putting each other down, because that doesn't go anywhere. And that's what political correctness does. That's what the groupthink does. They put you down and they won't allow you to expand on your point, because immediately you get a label that nobody likes. So you're stopped and they scare you away. Do you think tone is quite important when speaking to professors? Well, depending on the professors. If they're politically correct, you might as well agree with them or they'll fail you. And unfortunately, there's not much you can do till you get out, and then you can, once you get your degree, then you can come back and debate them. But unfortunately, there's a real, it's like the Inquisition, I'm telling you. It's like the Inquisition. In the Inquisition, you could not go against the church. You could not go against the belief system. Back in the medieval times and before, there was no Europe. It was Christendom, it was called. Germany, Italy, Spain, France, they were the Christian nations, and they had the Inquisition, and the Inquisition was making sure that you didn't break away from the norm. So, for example, Copernicus said that the Earth was not the center of the universe, and he was house arrested. And then 100 years later, Galileo, with better telescopes, was able to say, yep, Copernicus was right. The Earth is not the center of the universe. Guess what happened? The politically correct, which at the time were the Inquisition, they house arrested him. They house arrested him, and he couldn't publish everything. Everything was published posthumously after he died. So that's what's happening. Now they can't house arrest you, but they can do you can lose grants, or you could lose your job, or you can be boycotted. You cancel culture, but you'll be boycotted. Don't buy this because this person doesn't agree. Whether it's right or left, this is not politics. This is logic. Whether it's right or left, it doesn't matter. So it's not, but everything has been politicized. Science has been politicized. Ethics has been politicized. Religion has been politicized. And what they do is they arm people to speak stupidity rather than logic. So here what I'm doing is I'm teaching you how to become an individual. And you become an individual by questioning groupthink, by questioning the norms, and having people give you an opportunity to present your view. That your view is just as important. It doesn't matter what your sexual preference is or anything like that. What you need is logic, what you need is clarity, and here's what's important. It's very easy for people to think, I have my freedom, but it's not so easy to see that other people have freedom too. So when you're arguing, make sure that before you argue, you're coming in, number one, no ad hominem. So you're learning good logic here. No ad hominem, no attacking the person. Ad hominem really means against the man, against the person. So rather than ad hominem, what you're saying is, okay, I want to argue a point here, and I want to learn something from you, and I hope that you'll learn something from me. And that's what Hegel talked about He talked about the thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. So you have the thesis, the antithesis, which is the opposite, and then coming to the togetherness means that there's a higher truth, a higher understanding that neither of you knew about. It's not about compromise. It's about reaching a higher truth. It's not like, okay, you're right and I'm right. No, no, you go to a higher truth and you both agree that it's better than both. So it's a win-win. So the synthesis brings it together into higher truth. And this is very important. And I know that I'm talking heady kinds of things here, but I have a very intelligent audience. You guys are really, really intelligent and wanting to learn about yourself. And by the way, individuation is extremely important in the health of the individual. And let me tell you where it begins. You first have to differentiate. And the way that it happens is that you first, as a child, when you're a newborn, you don't know what is me, what is the blanket, you don't know anything. You don't know what is the breast, you don't know anything. And and it's very oral. You start biting things. You bite the blanket, and then you bite yourself, and you go, wait a minute, there's something hurts here. If I bite the blanket, it won't hurt, even though you don't have the cognition. Then you begin to get a sense of differentiating between you and the blanket. But then comes the separation, and it takes a while to separate from things. That's why infants have the security blanket. They know they're not a blanket anymore, but the security's still there. And then later, after you differentiate and you separate, then you integrate. You say, okay, so this is me. That's the blanket. I don't need the blanket anymore. And you begin to let go. You begin to let go. But what happens in relationships? Look how it works now. In relationships, you have an engagement with that person. And sometimes you lose yourself. You don't know who you are and who the other person is without you. But then when you try to separate and individuate and say, this is me, this is you, you get lost. Who am I without this person? Who am I? So then that's when you begin to integrate who I am and begin to release and detach. So you first have to differentiate, then you have to detach, and then you have to integrate to see, what am I without this person? And that's when you don't lose self. If you don't do that, you lose self. And you lose self in groupthink, or you lose self in a relationship or in a political party, and you lose your identity. And your identity is very important. Are you a counselor? Are you considered one, or do you know any? I'm a licensed clinical psychologist, and I do consultation. Go to my website, biocognitive.com. It's on my page here, on my house shrink page. There's a link, biocognitive.com, and go take a look at it with what I have to offer. But also, I have, as you know, a lot of videos here, and then I have quite a few videos, longer than the 60 seconds, on my YouTube channel, which is Dr. Mario Martinez. There's a lot of free stuff, but I also do consultations, and I work with Fortune 100 companies, and usually I do all my consultation on Zoom from people all over the world. So yes, it's available. So go to my website, biocognitive.com, and look at the consultations. And I'm doing a monthly group now. I don't know if you'd be interested. It's called Healing the Wounded Hero. It's a small group, about up to 14 people. So if you're interested, go to my website. It's half full already. I did the last one a few days ago, and it was just full. And there I talk about these things, and I use specific group techniques to teach people how to teach people okay, people are asking my pronoun. What is my pronoun? Macho man. How's that? How does that sound? Who am I? Forget about my pronouns. And that's what we're working on here. We're working on individuality. Find out who you are beyond your pronouns, beyond your sexual preferences. It's just very important to be aware. Okay, so we have another, hey Richie, you're being the clown of the group. We don't need that. I understand you're funny, but this is about learning something, not about making people laugh. If you can do both, that's okay, but you're not teaching anything with your jokes. So if you want to rehabilitate from clownhood into intellect, let me know. If not, we'll just have to block you. Okay, so getting back to the, and let me tell you something. Why do we block people? Not to stop them from expressing their ideas, to stopping their bullshit is what we stop them for, and that's okay. If you have a reasonable, intellectual, intelligent idea, that's fine. But if you want to be a clown, then no, go somewhere else and go play. There's a lot of stuff here that'll entertain you. Watching dogs fight or someone shaking their butt. There's a lot of stuff out there. But if you really want to learn, then be serious and be a rehabilitated clown, which means that, oh, I don't have to be a clown. I can use my brain now. So it's very important to understand. I'm talking about individuation, which means be an individual. And there are ways of becoming an individual, but first you have to question. First you have to question what you were taught. A lot of people were told, well, look, you're not good at math, or you're not good at directions, or you're good at this and you're good at that. And that's people's projections. You have to test yourself and find out what you're good at and what you're not. Find out if you like it. If you're not good at something and you hate it, why would you want to do that? Be in a profession that gives you passion, that you wake up in the morning, you can't wait to start doing what you do. I love what I do, and I can't wait to do it. Child of divorce, lots of trust issues, and gaslighting. Okay, look, go to my YouTube channel. There's a lot of stuff there that I talk about the archetypal wounds, and also my books. I suggest that you read my books, The Mind-Body Code and The Mind-Body Self. So just be aware. And the people that are trying to disrupt, they're trying to play games, we don't want them here. We want you to respect your time here. The people that are serious here, I'll talk to you for a long time. But be sure that you follow my work. Go click follow and click like. I want to get up to 3,000 today. We have about 27, almost 2,800, 3,000, eventually to 10,000, which is the minimum, where you can do things that are so much better. The books, you can get them at Amazon. You can get them in bookstores. You have to order them, but Amazon would be the cheapest. The Mind-Body Code, The Mind-Body Self, they're both bestsellers, and they're really, really good book. So anyway, some compliments here. That's very nice. Thank you. Hello from Buffalo. Great. Buffalo, New York. Wonderful. A cold place in the winter, and some really, really nice people from there. So welcome. If you just joined, this is House Shrink, talking about individuality and selfhood, how to break away from groupthink, how to break away from following the sheep, and how to break away from becoming a robotic wimp. You don't want to do that. Thoughts on being an individual at work. Okay, that's a really intelligent question. Logan, thank you. An individual at work, first, you have to find out what are the expectations that people have on you. Your boss or whoever it is. What are the expectations, and what can you meet honorably without prostituting yourself? What can you meet that? And how can you improve in the areas that you're wanted and that you can actually do well? But sometimes you're in a job that's very toxic, in a job that doesn't honor you, that doesn't see you as an individual, that doesn't respect you. Well, eventually what I would do is say, give yourself 6 months to look for another job. Hello from Indianapolis. Hello. And then give yourself 6 months to look for another job and get the hell out. Why? Because eventually that will make you sick. Why do people judge you based on your past? Well, some people, and this is what happens when you start giving people labels. I'm 30, I'm 40, I'm this, I'm he, I'm she, and that's, you want to look at what the individual is now. What are they doing? What are they doing now? Don't worry about their age or their pronouns or whatever. Who are you? Are you a decent person? Do you have meaning? Can I trust you? Those are the things that you look for. Milwaukee, wonderful. A lot of good people here. Are we really individuals? Yes, we are. But you were taught that you're not. You're taught that you're not. You're taught, and I'll tell you where it comes from. Social constructivism and postmodernism, which both are bullshit to the nth degree. Social constructivism says, biology doesn't matter. We're just socially constructed people, and do whatever you need to do, and don't worry about your biology, don't worry about anything. Postmodernism says everything is relative. We haven't really done very much in the world. There's no good, there's no bad, there's no free will. So whatever you do, it's not you. There's just no free will. You kill somebody, well, it's your biology. There's nothing they can do with it. So all those two things create a big, big problem. And they tell you that you don't have individuality. You do. Hi from New York. Great. People from New York are wonderful. Where do physiology and biology communicate? Well, physiology is biology. So tell me a little bit more. Arizona, if you mean mind and body, that's cognition and affect, or cognition and biology, and they communicate in a cultural context. That's what my books are about. The mind-body code, the mind-body self, is to teach you that. To teach you that mind and body communicate in a culture. And the culture is the collective beliefs about important things like ethics, aesthetics, wellness, longevity. California, we have people from all over. I've had people from all over the world. Do you study anything about grounding with the earth? You're going to have to be a little bit more specific than that about grounding with the earth. That would be, you're grounded already. Hi from Ireland. Oh, Erin Gobra. You're already grounded with the earth, so I don't know what more grounding you need. I am on earth and I'm grounded, so maybe if you want to explain a little bit more, I'll try to answer it for you. Okay, a lot of people. We have thousands of people. At the end, it tells how many people have been here. It's thousands of people. So I want you to take the responsibility to follow my work. Click follow, click like if you like. From Florida, wonderful. I'm from Miami, but I live in Nashville now, by the way. North Carolina. Is it possible to make a toxic work environment non-toxic? Yes, it is, and that's what I do. And the empowerment code is a way that I work with people to teach them that you can make departments and you can make groups of people work within a toxic place by changing, kind of creating a mini culture of health and wellness. But it's not easy. It requires work, and I developed a model that I call organizational science. It's called the empowerment code, and that's what we teach with organizations. And we do training with our organizations all over the world. So that's a great question. Dallas, Texas. Hello, Texas. I love Texas. There are very few places that I don't like. Whoever you are, you're welcome here. What we don't welcome here is BS and people that are trying to distract us from what we're talking about. But anything else, great. Also from Dallas. Hey, Logan, you're from Dallas. Great. Very good. If you just joined, House Drink, talking about individuality from Iowa. And also thoughts on inner child turning into the inner child thing. That's kind of it's a bit of a confusing thing. There's no such thing as an inner child. What you have is a past archived in memories from different time periods, and what you bring out is that past and you put it into the present and see how you deal with it. So how do you take stress out? Stress is an interpretation of events. You were taught what to be stressed about and what not to be stressed about. Read my books. The Mind Body Code especially has it. It teaches you how to deal with it. Let me explain to you about how stress is a contextual thing. Now I'm talking about individuality, and I'm talking about selfhood. All of a sudden behind me you see a tiger. All of a sudden the tiger, well, I get stressed out and my cortisol goes up and norepinephrine goes up because it's out of context. But what if I were talking about how to tame a tiger? You see the tiger and say, hey, look, here's a tiger. I'm going to show you how to tame it. It's contextual. When things are out of context that appear to be harmful, it's stressful. So yes, stress is a learned behavior. And there's good stress, by the way. Stress is a challenge. And if you have a challenge with meaning, then it's not going to be bad. It's not going to be cortisol making you sick or anything. But if it's stress without meaning, especially stress where you don't have access to resources, then it can be bad for you. What does tame a tiger mean? Well, you tell me, because I'm not a tiger trainer. I was just using it as an analogy. If you're serious about it, tell me. If you're not, then like when you eat too much due to stress, yes, because what happens is that stress causes a disruption. It's uncomfortable, so you need some release of stress. And you could either do some meditation, some walks, some exercise, or you can eat. If you eat, you're going to gain weight, and it's not going to be good for you. Eating does not help stress. Stress has to be reduced by finding out where it's coming from, in what context, and then doing meditation and ways to deal with it. And that's why I wrote my books, The Mind Body Code, The Mind Body Self. But don't forget to follow here. Follow House Shrink. Like if you want to, but follow is the most important. What causes stress? The interpretation that you make of things. Stress is an interpretation of things. And you have to find out how you were taught with stress, how you were taught to be afraid of the rain because you'll catch a cold, things like that. You were taught what to be afraid of. And then this is what individuation is all about. To find out, okay, if I was taught that that strangers are dangerous, then how can I challenge that? How can I begin to look at strangers who are not dangerous? Where can I buy your books? Amazon is the best, the cheapest. So Amazon, you'll get it very quickly. You can trick your brain. No, you don't have to trick your brain. You can teach your brain. Why trick it? If you have the right tools, you can do it right without tricking it. Is bipolar something that makes it harder to find individuality? It makes it more difficult, but still, it's possible. You can do it. All strangers are dangerous. That's what would, of course, you're trying to be funny here, but that's what they call xenophobia. So anyway, all strangers. What about depression and anxiety? Well, what about it? You can be depressed and anxious, and again, what is the name of your book? The Mind Body Code is one, the first one. The Mind Body Self is the second one. They're both bestsellers. They're great books. I like Maslow. Might disagree with you until one has a certain level of security, stress. Yeah, but Maslow talks about the hierarchies and all that. But I'm talking about the neuropsychology of it. Maslow was not a neuropsychologist. Well, he was a psychologist, a humanist psychologist, and he has some really good ideas. But he didn't talk too much about culture. And I'm talking about culture psychoimmunology here, so just be aware of that. But thank you. And Maslow was great, by the way, but not everybody's perfect. Jung or Freud? Oh, for no question that Jung is better than Freud. Freud was a giant. You can't deny somebody because they made some mistakes. Freud was a cocaine addict. He had an over concern with the psychosexual, but he was very good with the things that he did with the subconscious and all that. Jung broke away from him and he said, no, everything is not about sexuality. There's spirituality, there's meaning, there's mythology, there's self-individuation, what he talked about, archetypes. So Jung, obviously, and Jung has become much, much more popular now, and Freud is kind of, not too many people work with Freud now, although you have to give him credit. What's the topic? The topic is individuating, finding individual identity into selfhood and breaking away from groupthink, breaking away from political correctness, which is the modern Inquisition. Holistic approach. Jung had a lot of things to say about the individual as an ecology and the archetypes. And I'll talk about Jung some other day. But yeah, Jung was great. I've done a lot of work with his work, and I apply some of his work into what I do. Thank you. Love the topic. Well, thanks for being here. Yeah, cultural psychoimmunology is that I developed this concept. Psychoneuroimmunology was pioneered by my mentor, Dr. George Solomon, but psychoneuroimmunology has become too concerned with the reductionist process rather than looking at the culture. Because stress is one thing in one culture, and there's another culture. You have inflammation in one culture and another. So I call it, the new discipline is cultural psychoneuroimmunology, which looks at how cultural beliefs affect your health by the immune, nervous, and endocrine sense of regulation. You all seem pretentious. You want to break that down a little bit so I can answer it? I'm not sure what you mean by that. I found Foucault-style therapy helpful. Retell your story in the way that is helpful for you. Yeah, Foucault was very interested in power. And Foucault was gay, and in those days, the political correctness was against gay men, and he suffered dearly for that. So he talked a lot about the power of the individual and the power of the clinic and the power of other things. So yeah, Foucault was quite a good French philosopher. The meditation helped to activate the parasympathetic nervous system. What else does it do? Well, it does much more than that. It depends on what kind of meditation you're doing. If you're doing a meditation that is focused meditation, it'll relax you. That's all it'll do. It'll slow down your breathing. It'll be a lot of parasympathetic kinds you talked about. But that doesn't take you anywhere. You have to go to the next level, which the vipassana or analytical or contemplative, which then takes you beyond the muscle relaxation, and you go into the contemplative state and you begin to look at things beyond just relaxing. So yeah. Why do psychologists yell at patients? If a psychologist yells at a patient, I would use a clinical term that they're an asshole. You don't yell to you don't yell to patients. Oh, I don't know if you were trying to be funny or not. Can you change your genetic code with epigenetics? Yes. Okay. Look, the genetic code, the genetics is only a potential expression, and genetics meant. What do you think about Sam Harris? Love his podcast. Sam Harris is really good. He's an atheist, and what I don't like is that he doesn't think that there's free will. But he's quite an intellectual and a good person. By the way, he is part of the dark intellect web, which is a bunch of people that have gotten together, gay, straight, liberals, conservatives, and their agreement is that they're all against groupthink. They push back against groupthink. So anyway, getting back to the subject here, the subject is individuating, finding your individualness in selfhood. So to be able to look at who you are and what have you been sold that you are, and how can you can begin to change that. And there are ways of doing it. And the way to do that is to learn logic, to learn to what is Wim Hof. Wim Hof is a very interesting person. Nothing related to this, but he's the Iceman. He's a guy that goes swimming in sub-zero water, and what they found is he's got more of what's called the brown fat, which protects you from cold temperatures. He's quite a guy. Anyway, legitimate questions, any of them will be fine. Not legitimate questions will. Especially if you're trying to play around, then hi from New York. More on epigenetics. Okay, more on epigenetics. That's a reasonable. Epigenetics means beyond genetics, and it was thought 100 years ago that genetic transfer was only through DNA. That the DNA is the map, and then your genes are expressed based on the map, and nothing could affect it from the outside. And would take hundreds of thousands of years, millions of years to change for you to move from the evolutionary process. Later, it was found, about 90 years ago, 100 years ago, that the environment, your thinking, the way you deal with the world, can change the genetic expression, not through DNA, but through the genetic expression of how you either cap a genetic expression or you open a genetic expression to illness or to whatever it is. So epigenetics, not only does it cause change from the outside, but you pass it on from one generation to another. You can pass epigenetics on. So it's really a very interesting subject. For example, it's been done a lot of work with rats. You can't do it with humans because it would be unethical, but you give the rats a poison, and when they go to another rat and they communicate with each other, both rats will never eat the poison, nor will the offsprings for 2 or 3 generations. So it's an epigenetic transfer, a generational transfer. So it's very important. So yeah, there's quite a bit here. So epigenetics is very exciting water topic because it gives you a lot of hope that you're not genetically sentenced. For example, if you have some genetic predisposition of an illness, it doesn't mean that's going to happen to you. It means as a predisposition that can be changed based on the epigenetics that you do with yourself. So that's one of the things that we're doing. I'm working with Poland, with one of the top longevity centers in the world, helping them develop the epigenetic codes to change things based on your behavior, your thinking, your way of living, and so forth. So if you just joined, the first thing to do is follow. Click follow to see if it's still working, because it wasn't working for a while. So go ahead and follow. And then the topic is how you individuate the individual within selfhood. Can schizophrenia symptoms go away completely? Well, it just depends, because sometimes it's misdiagnosed. Schizophrenia is a lifelong challenge, but in some cases people are misdiagnosed. Sometimes people could have post-traumatic stress disorder and they're diagnosed as schizophrenia. But anything can be changed. It's just that some is more difficult than others, and some requires time and requires work, and always working with a professional that has empathy for you. It's very important. A professional who's open to possibilities, not who's going to tell you what to do, and this is all we can do, and forget it. And that's not the kind of person that you want. So follow the host, very important. Vala Mama, thank you for following. Chef Sapo, I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Everybody is following the host. Please do that when you come in. God bless you all. Thank you very much. So make sure that you follow the host, because that's how I can get more and more audiences. And can medication alter your DNA? It can, especially some drugs can. There's some studies that are showing that long-term use of marijuana can actually affect your DNA. So be careful what you put into your body, because it's your body, and nobody can be born for you, nobody can hurt for you, and nobody can die for you. So take care of your temple, and be at peace. Make sure that you follow the host. Very important, because I want you to be a part of this subculture of wellness. And that's the way. I'm also, thank you. I found your page. Your information and tips are literally life-saving. Thank you very much. Legit, it's good to have you here. I'll do whatever I can for everybody here that's being serious, and make sure that you follow the work. We want to get it up to 3,000 today, and eventually to 10,000. The likes are pretty close to 10,000 something. So but the follow is very important. Make sure that you follow the host, and that's how we can get information out to you. And also remember that this video will be on tomorrow on my YouTube channel, which is Dr. Mario Martinez. When you go to my page here, the House Shrink, you'll be able to see my 2 books, The Mind Body Code, The Mind Body Self. Hello from California. Hey, California. Good to have you here. And you'll also see the link to my website, which is biocognitive.com. So what I'm talking about here today is how to individuate, how to go into selfhood, finding out who you are rather than who you're told that you have to be, and always push back when someone tries to ram a belief down your throat. But you have to use logic. And groupthink doesn't use logic. They never go to logic. They don't have to, because they're imposed their beliefs on you, and they'll label you. They'll give you a bad label, so you'll be seen as a bad person, as a racist or whatever. And also, you can't say anything. You can talk about anything. You can talk about race, sexual preference, anything, if you do it respectfully with each other, and you do what I talked about, the thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. You get one point, the total opposite of a point. You debate them, you dialogue them, and then you come up with a higher truth that both of you can learn something from each other. That's what dialectics is all about. Being brutally honest with yourself. You don't have to be brutal. You just have to be exciting about finding yourself. If you do something wrong, don't beat yourself up and say, oh, I caught it. I'm a good detective. Sherlock Holmes here. Okay, great. And one of the things that you want to do, and I did a short video today, but I want to tell you a little bit more, is that there are 2 ways to find out about yourself. One, look at what you project out to the world that you don't like. Look at if somebody is lying and you get really angry when they're lying. Okay, that's fine. Ask yourself if you're lying, and do you get upset when you're lying? And if you're lying, don't beat yourself. I say, okay, I caught myself lying. So obviously the projection helped you find something about yourself. Second, admiration. Look at people that you admire, but you might have a little envy. If you have envy with admiration, it won't bring out the immunological things that you need, like oxytocin, which is a bonding hormone and neurotransmitter. But if you learn to admire without envy, you can then emulate that behavior. You can imitate that behavior, and then you could look at that behavior within you. So there are 2 ways to finding individuality. What you project out, own it, and the admiration that you have, own it. Yeah, you should be able to talk about things and disagree without being disrespectful, because again, I mentioned that when you're learning debate, and they don't teach debate anymore in school, they just teach you to tell you to do what your professor tells you. But in debate, there's a concept that I mentioned earlier. It's called ad hominem argument, which is not acceptable in debates. Ad hominem argument means against the individual. Ad hominem, against the man. And what that means is that you're insulting the messenger and you're not dealing with the message. So it's very important that you don't use ad hominem. And that's exactly what groupthink does. Ad hominem. They criticize you for being this, for being that, rather that how do you release pent up anger? Okay, you first have to find out who taught you how to be angry and how to release it. Go back and you can look at yourself and you can say, well, my family held up everything. They never expressed themselves or they exploded. Find out how you learned it. And then what you do is you look at what context makes you angry, look at how it's embodied, and then begin to release it gradually. But I would suggest you read my books, The Mind Body Code, The Mind Body Self, because there's a lot of information there. Make sure that you follow the host. That's what I need from you. I'm giving you all this information to create a subculture of wellness so you can be accepted here for who you are, not what you are, but who you are as an individual, independent of anything other. Labels, forget them. Don't label yourself. Instead of labeling yourself, instead of saying I'm this, I'm that, my pronoun, my this, none of that. Ask yourself, am I a good person? Am I empathic with myself and with others? Am I tolerant with other people? Do I stand up for what I believe? That's what you look for process, not for labels. Not labels, process is what's important here. So make sure that you follow the host. How shrink? Let's see, if you teach others, you might like to do a mentorship with him in biocognition. Oh yeah, Samantha was mentioning, for teachers, I do mentoring to teach teachers how to teach biocognition. So go to my website, biocognitive.com. It's on my page. It's a link there. And I have all kinds of information. And there's also quite a bit of free stuff there that you could look into. But I would suggest you get the books, The Mind Body Code, The Mind Body Self. And there's a lot here that I talk about. So the mentorships are done here for individuals. And I do them on Zoom. And they're really very effective. I do diplomates also in biocognitive science. And I do consultations with Fortune 100 companies. I use the Serenity Prayer when I'm aware of anger. And it's not leading. That's good. The Serenity Prayer is good, but you have to not just intellectualize it. You have to do what I suggested, that you embody it. Where is the signature? Where is it expressed? Begin to release it by going to that part of the body and then finding out how you learned that. It's very important. In biocognition, developmental, you have to go back to how you learned it, how you learned to suppress it or express it, and then other techniques that I teach. Also, remember, I do a monthly group, which is very limited to 14, 15 people. And I teach how to do this. And of course, you pay for that. It's not very expensive, but you pay. And you go to my website, and it's first come, first served basis. The next one is in August, and it's about almost half full. So the Serenity Prayer is good. It's just the beginning. You have to embody. And then my 20 has so much anger. During his anger, he won't allow you to say anything. No, when somebody's angry, you don't deal with anger. If somebody's drinking, an alcoholic, you don't talk to them when they're drinking because you're talking to a bottle. When somebody's angry, you're talking to their demons. Wait till they're out and then talk to them Socratically. That's another thing. You learn Socratic methods, which is questioning. Okay, you got angry yesterday and you broke a couple of glasses. What's going on? What's going on with you? And let them express themselves. Do you think there's any other way to express it? Do you find anything that you do that was it precursors of anger? You begin to find early signs of your anger. When you catch them early, it's easier than it when it goes all the way out. What are my thoughts on Christianity? I'd rather not talk about religion here. Religion or politics. As systems, I can talk about it, but as religions, no, because this is not the forum for it. But thank you for asking. So I keep religion and politics out, because what's happened is everything has been politicized, and it makes it really difficult when you politicize religion and politics and everything. You want to be able to find out who you are. I've suffered from PTSD so long, my body is in fight or flight. Yeah, but I'll tell you something. PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, has a very good prognosis if you're working with the right people. That's a learned process that you taught your psychoneuroimmunology to respond to things like you're seeing danger behind every tree. The ways to desensitize yourself and the ways to learn about that, read my books, but also get professional help. Make sure you get professional help. But remember that when there's anxiety, there are very dysfunctional ways of dealing with anxiety. Sex, food, gambling, drugs. It's not going to work. It'll reduce it temporarily, but it'll make it worse eventually. So it's very important that you see that. That any excessive dysfunctional behavior becomes a real problem because you're not dealing with the issue. What you're doing is you're running away from the issue and creating all kinds of problems for yourself and the people you love. Okay, those of you who just joined, make sure that you follow the host first. Second, I'm talking about individuality, how to individuate into selfhood, and how to break away from groupthink, how to break away from people that tell you how it should be, how you should be, how they punish you when you're not part of that, how they punish you with political correctness. Some people are boycotted and they're treated as if they're some kind of subhuman just because they don't agree. Groupthink does not allow dialogue, does not respect you. It's all ad hominem. Criticize the messenger before they get the message out. It's very important to see that. Okay, so we're getting close to the end, and I want to thank everyone here for participating. Great group, great questions. And if, by the way, if one of your questions were not answered, on my page here, there's a new feature that I have that's Q&A. You can ask a question there, and I'm allowed to do a 15-second video to answer it. So that would be important. So before you leave, make sure that you follow the host. And then tomorrow, go to my YouTube channel, and you can also follow there. I have over 500,000 people that have already visited there, so it's really very popular. I have hundreds of videos free that you can look into. But the sessions on the section on TikTok, it's called Getting Your Life in Order, and it's all there because I can only show here 60 seconds or 3 minutes, but there I'll be able to show the whole video. So if you miss part of it, go there tomorrow. You'll be able to see it at your leisure. And all you have to do is just follow, and the videos will be there. So thank you for joining me, and I hope that everyone has a wonderful day. House Shrink, make sure you follow before you go. Thousands of people have showed up, and it's wonderful because all of you are brilliant and beautiful. Remember that. Brilliant and beautiful. Everyone. Don't let anybody else tell you anything other than that. But you have to develop that brilliance and that beauty. It's there. Develop it. All right. Thank you very much. And everybody from all over the world, have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you.